Hello there, and welcome to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast, where we'll have a little fun, lots of laughs, and discussions on the common sense that needs to be applied to a lot of today's world news issues. And now, the disclaimer. Stay Off My Lawn is not intended as legal, medical, or financial advice. Void where prohibited. No purchase necessary to win. Open to legal U.S. residents 18 or over in the contiguous 48 states. Any resemblance to anyone living or deceased is purely coincidental. Actual price may vary. Only use as directed. Not a member of FDIC. And now, here are your hosts, Mike and Richard.
What button?
Take it away. Take it away, Bob. Oh, wait, no, what's your name again?
I don't know. I never remember. Welcome to this week's episode of Stay Off My Lawn. It is, hang on, I lost it. What day is today? We're a little bit late this week. It is March 5th, 2025, and this is episode 107. We are, again, a day late because of appointments, and it's all my fault.
And we were talking about maybe being late anyway because we get a chance to talk about this week what happened to President Trump's terrific speech that he had last night.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about with that one. There was a lot of weird.
So it's kind of good that we're a day late, but there's been all of us, including spouses. It's like we have a punch card. Who's seeing what doctor when?
Yeah, that's true. I think we're done for the week. Let's see. Next Friday.
Next week it's us. We're seeing all kind between dentists and doctors. My household is busy. It's all booked up.
Every day it seems like I got something. So it doesn't seem to matter. But, once I get done with next week, I think that's my last infusion of immunotherapy. So I'll get to ring the bell. If anybody knows what that means, then you'll know what I'm talking about.
Awesome.
Get to ring the bell. So I had to ring the bell with radiation and with chemo, and I didn't get to ring it on the way out of the hospital. So, I mean, there was no bell. I just couldn't wait to get out of there. Anyway, we are going to kick off this week with our new segment.
It's time for Stupid Holidays of the Week.
It is time. It's I love that guy's voice. Anyway, today is March 5th, but it's also known as Cinco de Marcho.
Well, that would be true. And on top of all that, it's Ash Wednesday. Who knew?
True. That's true. So if you have a dead body laying around, throw it in the fireplace and make ashes out of it. That way there's no evidence. It's really what we're all about here. Officially,
wow, left field. Hello.
Anybody
there?
Ashes.
Anyway,
I mean, I'm not Catholic, so I don't know what that means. Officially, Cinco de Marcho is celebrated to train you and your liver. This is what it says on the website. For all the drinking to be done 12 days later on St. Patrick's Day, or 2 months later on the actual Cinco de Mayo. So, you got to train your liver. This is Train Your Liver Day.
We'll be sent away on a train. One of the two.
We kicked off the week. Monday is called "What If Cats and Dogs Had Opposable Thumbs Day." I think they're reaching for some of this stuff. Officially, it's a day for you to imagine what life would be like if cats and dogs could grasp things like physics and stuff. But for all you weirdos out there, they have way too much time in your hands. You could have celebrated that this week.
Wait, don't cats grab things anyway?
They seem to. I mean, just because
cats
the thumbs don't oppose.
Would just be a smaller raccoon.
That's a good point.
They have opposable thumbs,
Yes, they do. Well, I feel that when they grab me around the neck. I always feel that. Of course, yesterday was Mardi Gras, or Fat Tuesday for all you Catholics out there. And you need to indulge. Yesterday, you needed to indulge heavily into something that you don't want to do anymore for the next 40 days. The way I understand the holiday, us Protestants enjoy all the fish, and it's just like any other spring. So anyway, tomorrow is National Dentist Day. I want to thank ours, Dr. Elsie. She's very, very good. She our dental hygienist. It's not dental hygienist day. They probably have their own day, but Stacy does such a great job. I can go to sleep while she's cleaning my teeth, which is highly unusual, seemingly. So you got to get your teeth cleaned next week, right?
Well, no, not cleaned. I've got some cavity stuff that's
Oh.
been in there when I ran out of my insurance funds, and it's like, nope, I'm not paying for that out of pocket. That's Dad burned much money. I said, nope, won't happen till after the first of the year.
There you go. Yeah,
So they checked it again in January, and I said I can't come in anytime before the 10th because the wife had her knee surgery on the 29th. So, yeah, no, I'm not leaving the house just yet.
Yeah. It's just, and I'm still fighting with the insurance company over something that happened last year. So it's like, it's $2,000. I'm going to fight. Yeah. So,
yeah, we got more time than money.
Yep, absolutely. Friday is National Cereal Day. Do you have a favorite cereal that you're go
Yes,
to?
I like the malto meal frosted shredded wheats, whatever they're called. I don't know what they're
stuff.
called.
Yeah. Okay. I've always been a Rice Krispie fan since I was able to eat cereal. I've just been. It's not super high in sugar. I don't think.
No.
It doesn't seem like it. But that's my go-to. And I've tried a bunch of different kinds, and that's like I do like the Honey Nut Cheerios once in a while. But yeah. But anyway, Friday's your National Cereal Day. Go ahead and put it on your ice cream or whatever you do.
I'll have to have the wife make some. Now, I do like Rice Krispie squares, and the wife always uses extra marshmallows.
Ooh, I like when
nice and chewy.
I like when Barbara makes them at home because there's not as much sugar. If you get them in the packaging, they're like loaded with sugar. It's like,
and they got all kinds of other crap in there. Why? I don't know, because all you need is the marshmallows and the Rice Krispies and some butter and ta-da.
I don't need any sprinkles or little hard pieces of stars or whatever they put in them.
Now, I have made them out of Fruity Pebbles.
Really? That just sounds terrible.
Don't make, we tried it two ways. The first way was the whole thing was made out of Fruity Pebbles. That was way too. So you sprinkle about a third or a fourth of Fruity Pebbles in with the Rice Krispies. Yummy. That gives them a little flavor, and they sparkle with colors and whatever.
When I was switching up cereals when I was still working, every once in a while I would bring some cereal in for one of my breaks. And if I didn't bring Rice Krispies, I would bring, they have the crunchy Raisin Bran, the stuff with the yogurt clusters in them or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got the regular Raisin Bran, but it's like with the clusters and everything, it's almost too much sugar. So I would mix in the regular Raisin Bran with it, and I have this big old box that I would put it in, and it would last me forever. But it's like that mix was okay, but it's like it's the regular Raisin Bran wasn't enough flavor. The crunchy stuff was too much flavor. So I found a happy medium, which our government cannot do.
We were not allowed to have the sugared cereals. You had to put your sugar was cheap, so we'd just get Cheerios and then eat the glucose off the bottom of the bowl because you would just cover it in sugar. And then so when it grew up, and I'm not at my folks' house, I'm an adult. I can get what I want. We'd have like 4 or 5 boxes of all sugared cereal stuff. And the girls, when they got older, would see, let's see, I want some of that, a little bit of this, and like a mad scientist mixing them all up. And they're looking at me like, that doesn't look that bad. I said, mix them how you want. They're here. Knock yourself out.
Now we're understanding the cavity part. But my mother used to put sugar on Rice Krispies, and even when I was a kid, she would take a teaspoonful of sugar and put it on there, and then put milk on it. I'm like, I just don't need that extra sugar. I've just never, I don't know.
Oh yeah, I would put sugar in any of it. We would have Wheaties, all that stuff. Couldn't have the sugared cereal. Man, there's a bowl of sugar on the table.
Jeez. Oh, anyway, we
get out the snow shovel. I used to do it with iced tea too. You finish drinking your iced tea, and you need a long spoon to get the glucose out of the bottom of the.
I told you about my old boss in the military. It's like when he left his coffee cup behind, it was like a chunk of sugar in the bottom of the cup. Oh my gosh! I kind of looked at it. I was like, it was just it was awful. We are going to round out the week this weekend for National Get Over It Day. This is a unique. Right. Do you remember this one? This is a unique holiday that encourages people to let go of grudges, move on from past grievances, and embrace more positive outlook on life. In
other words, if you don't like our show, tough, get over it.
That's right. Get rid of your feelings, embrace logic and common sense, and just move on. For goodness' sake.
That would extend a fight. When I was younger, I would say something stupid like that. Just get over it. Wow,
Yeah.
talk about pouring coal on the fire.
Why don't you just calm down? I mean, that normally works. Isn't it? Oh, boy. Nope, it
There's
doesn't
a
work.
reason I'm almost to 50. Yeah, I'm a little slow learner, but I got there.
It took me a while too. It was like, babe, I think I bought a vacuum cleaner one Christmas, and she said that's what she wanted, and I was like, I was just dumb enough to go and buy one. So I'm dumb now, but can you imagine how bad it was at one point? Anyway, last night the Democrats had a hard time.
Did you say the Democrats? But you were right the first time.
Democrats? I don't know. I misspelled some of this. They couldn't stand up for any of the special guests of the president's speech last night, including Laken Riley's family, which that was just a lot of that stuff was heart wrenching. The guy from the Border Patrol, I think it was, and then they renamed that park in Houston after the 12-year-old girl that was brutalized.
Yep.
And it's like, but you really got me. And like I said, I don't get emotional very often watching TV unless a dog dies. But that 13-year-old kid, the cancer survivor, man, I was like, I had a hard time with that.
They could not even give him any due. This is a kid who's been quite the fighter.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Oh, I know. DJ Daniels, his name. And the kid he's an inspiration. But how in the world do you sit in that congressional meeting and not give that boy some praise and say, you are stronger than most adults in this room? And how in the world can you? I just don't get it. How can you sit on your hands with that? It kills
worse
me.
than that was a pundit, political pundit on CNN, and I wish I would have saved. I just saw it before we started this morning, but they were talking about that moment and then turned it political against Trump. And how can you do such a? It's like, really, you can take and spin that. It just was crass. It was disgusting.
I saw that while I was in the waiting room. I actually came across that, but it was like, I mean, it fell flat. I don't think anybody really bought it. But anyway,
they're not buying it now. That's the reason CNN and MSNBC, they had to get rid of Joy Reid. They're going to be more of them go by the wayside because there ain't nobody watching that garbage no more. And we'll tell you what makes it evident of that fact.
That's right.
With what do you have? Do you have your facts ready to go?
I got them ready to go. 70%. First of all, CNN came out with a poll about the speech, and they came out with 69% found it favorable. But CBS News and YouGov went a little bit deeper with things.
CBS News.
I know.
Yeah. They had a whopping 76% of those watching said they approved of Trump's second term. Now that's confusing, isn't it? Second term speech of Congress. And this is from CBS. Yep. They are anything but conservative.
Oh, definitely not. But I think the watchers, just everybody in the country, is kind of like leaning to the right. Like you said, 89% of all counties in the country during this last election moved to the right. So, I mean, there's obviously a movement going on here. 77% said they support his plan to cut government waste and spending. And then you want to do some of these? You want to go back?
Well, I don't know if we have the same thing, but I've got 91% said that Trump spent time on issues that they cared about.
Yeah, good.
So the Democrats are not, all they're doing is camp. They're complaining and whining about stuff, which will tell you what others thought of the same thing that I did. Yeah. And they have no solutions. All they're doing is pissing and moaning about things, and they have no solution. They're just losing, and they just want to whine about it. And what excuse me, what I said to the wife last night, a pundit also said on one of the networks that they were acting like impudent little 5-year-olds who just got told, no, you can't have any ice cream. We're going to have dinner soon.
That's right.
And just sitting there and pouting and holding up stupid paddles that there was they tried to check stuff, and even their fact checking was wrong. It's like, no, that's not right.
Riley Gaines was there last night, and she, this is about a little over a minute and a half, but she had a good take on everything she saw firsthand.
I attended President Trump's State of the Union address in Washington, D.C. tonight. Let me tell you what I saw. Better yet, let me tell you what I didn't see. I did not see Democrats stand and applaud a child with terminal brain cancer who was in the room. I did not see Democrats stand and applaud and honor the life and memory of young girls like Laken Riley or 12-year-old Jocelyn, who lost their lives to illegal gang members before their grieving parents who were in the room. I did not see Democrats stand and applaud an American who had been falsely and innocently imprisoned in Russia, who had recently been returned, who was in the room with his 95-year-old mother. I did not see Democrats stand and applaud a balanced budget. I mean, I could go on and on and on. But you know what I did see the Democrats stand and applaud? The only thing they stood and cheered for was Ukraine. And I don't mean peace in Ukraine, because when President Trump mentioned his efforts to end the Russian-Ukrainian war, they didn't cheer for that. They only cheered when President Trump mentioned we have given Ukraine over $350 billion in taxpayer funds. They clapped for the continued funding of war in Ukraine. The Democratic Party, and I don't mean Democrats, I mean the Democratic Party. So in terms of elected representation and certainly how left-leaning media portrays the Democrats, they're no longer American. They don't love our country. They don't love our flag. They don't love the American people. They are soulless. They are insufferable. It can only be described as immoral and evil. Tonight was proof for me that Democrats will literally stand for anything but America and its people.
Yeah, she put it very well. That's why I thought
that's it in a nutshell. And they wanted to say that the Trump speech is bad and all that when they were talking afterwards. And 71% said the speech was inspiring. 62% said it was unifying. Only 46% said it was divisive. 68% said it made them feel hopeful, and 54% said it made them feel proud.
Yep.
27% said they were worried they had to go to their safe space. It was terrible.
76% said they approved of removing the congressman who interrupted the speech. 74% said that his speech was presidential, and 73% support his stance on Russia and Ukraine, which we're going to talk much more about later. Because there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to unwrap with that whole meeting with Zelensky.
All that brouhaha was quite the news.
Yes.
And I think you saw it too. The wife and I were watching it going, he's doing what? What the hell is wrong with him?
Yeah, there's a lot to unwrap there, and there's some inner workings. If you listen to only the national news, you're not going to hear all this stuff. But we've actually dug into some of this, and we've got a little bit of insight. So, but when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about an executive order that Trump signed last week. I think it was on Friday. So, hang in there. We will be right back.
Hey, this is Kendra Rains. These two old dudes crack me up. That's why I listen to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast.
Budweiser presents Real Men of Genius.
Real Men of Genius.
Today we salute you, Mr. Really Bad Toupee Wearer.
Mr. Really Bad Toupee Wearer.
More than any neon sign or exploding scoreboard ever could, your chrome dome cover says, "Hey guys, look at me."
What could you be thinking?
You think it looks natural, but it couldn't look phonier if it had a chin strap.
Look at you.
Made of space-age fibers, it can repel anything. Rain, wind, snow, and especially young women.
I don't think so.
So crack open an ice cold Budweiser, Mr. Stud in a Rug. Then crack open another for that thing on your head.
I don't think it's all straight.
Hi, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 2. And hey, do you remember the hubbub over the bicentennial? We've said hubbub twice this week. I think it should be a drinking game. I got to take a shot every time they say hubbub.
The password for today is hubbub.
Alan Ludden, brought to you by Pfizer. But Back in 1976, remember the bicentennial? Is like,
Oh, yes.
that
I'd
stuff
been
was-
married a whole whopping year. Yeah. And that's right, folks. Makes me an old guy. And there was flags
It was
on
everywhere.
everything.
Yes.
I don't care why you bought it. Was made with a flag on it that
It
year.
sure was.
It was awesome to see. It was really nice.
It was. There was special quarters. There was all kinds of stuff. There was commercials. They had parades. They had everything. Next year is going to be 250. And I haven't heard jack. I mean, I don't know about you, but there's no planned celebration as far as I know.
Well, the only other time I've seen all the flag waving and patriotism was after the towers went down.
Yeah. I think that was the last time as a country we came together. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Almost in our 250-year history, we as a country have never had an official language. That all changed on Friday. Trump signed an executive order making English. I know you'd think Spanish, but it's English. The official language. For English, press 4. The official language of the U.S. So English can be controversial in our great country for some reason. I don't understand why that's controversial. It seems like it's always been. When I found out it was not the official language, we didn't have one. I thought that was puzzling to me.
I remember hearing that a while back, and nothing had ever changed, and now it is. Yeah. And the states were told you don't need to print 14 different language things to do stuff. We get. I don't know about you, but when I get stuff from the insurance company because of all the stuff that
get a whole page on the back,
it's like almost 2 full pages of. I think it's to have this read to you or something is like, holy
You got a couple of dialects of Arabic and Chinese. I'm thinking, who do they think they're sending this to? It's just so weird.
But it gets to be a little bit much.
Yeah.
You're here. If we went somewhere to another country, you better learn to speak. And now we're fortunate that English is kind of the quote unquote world language as it used to be many moons ago, that Latin was the universal language, if you will, because you have Spanish, Italian, even French, are all derivatives of Latin.
Sure.
So if you learn Latin, you'll probably catch on to those pretty quick.
Get by. Yeah. Well, and this is a fun fact. This is free. No charge for this. But if you're a pilot anywhere in the world, you need to speak English because every air traffic control tower in the world communicates in English. So I mean, if you're in Thailand or Japan, it doesn't seem to matter. I mean, everywhere you go, it's always English. So I thought that was that's kind of a neat tidbit. And like I said, no charge. But speaking of language, John Stossel interviewed a guy, black rhetoric professor. I'm not exactly sure what that means. His name is Eric Smith, about teaching standard English to people of all melanin tones.
I know.
Have you seen this? I think you sent this to me. Yeah.
It's like, what? Do you understand who you're talking to? What the?
Here's how that interview went, part of it.
What made you think something was wrong?
Well, I thought something was wrong for a while. I didn't realize how wrong it was until 2019 when a keynote address at the primary conference for my field, college composition and communication. The keynote argued that, among other things, teaching standard English to students of color, particularly black students, is inherently racist.
It's racist to teach black kids standard English. That perpetuates white supremacy.
Yes, that's the idea, right? And even the presence of white professors is a problem. That does some kind of psychic harm to students of color. So I heard that, thought it was a bit misguided, and said so on a listserv in my field, the Writing Program Administrators listserv. I put it out there basically in a long-form way asking, is this really a good idea? Is this the best way to go about this? And what ensued was hardly a conversation. It was more like a social media mobbing session.
Instead of a discussion, people called you racist. Do you enjoy using Western modes of argument to invalidate people of color? Check your privilege.
Yeah, Oh, that old chestnut. Check your privilege. Yeah, that happened. And it happened because what they saw in me was a bigger threat than anything they've seen before. A Black person saying it's okay to teach Black students standardized English.
Why is that a threat?
It's a threat because when a white person does it, oh, of course you don't understand this. But when I do it, it's a more difficult challenge, right? So they have to, pull out all the stops.
And you can only imagine it was Uncle Tom this and Uncle Tom that. And that's
yeah.
all my Black
Good
conservative
Lord.
friends have been called that kind of thing. It's like, if you're going to be a communicator like in our field, or when I was in radio, you have to.
That's right. What we're doing, folks, is being communicative.
Yes. I don't know what that word means. Let me Google that. But when you're in broadcast journalism or on the a radio DJ or whatever, you have to have. And I've known plenty of Black people doing that kind of thing, and we all sound the same. We all normally. But I guess everything online now, it's a free for all, so you can speak however you want.
There was a young Black lady today on that I saw on X, and she was just chewing the Democrats up one side and down the other, especially the gentleman that they escorted out. And she just was like, "What is wrong with you all?" I'm going, "Preach it, lady."
Yeah,
She was awesome. And she pretty much covered all the bases.
But doesn't that, that whole reaction to his speech last night or just the way everything went, I mean, how in the world are you okay with the way they acted? It's like we talked about with the 13-year-old boy that's been fighting cancer for however many years, a long time. The poor kid, you could see the scars on his head. How in the world?
Something he said was he's had 13 different operations, and he's come out with a different personality every time.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's how many personalities I've had.
If you have brain surgery, of course. I mean, it seems like
there's things you got to be careful because it's all like a mess of wires in there, and they're all interconnected, and you can mess some stuff up pretty easy.
Exactly. They still don't know how it all works together. But I mean, it's one of those things that the Democrats have moved themselves so far left, and the mainstream media has moved everybody so far left that if you're not for men and women's sports, if you're not for men and women's bathrooms, if you're not for some of these just crazy things, sending more hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine. I mean, it just seems like these are the party lines. Are you serious? These are the hills you want to die on? I don't understand the whole thing. And language is the same way.
Yeah, I don't get how they can say we're for women, but we want trans women to be in women's sports and take all the records away from women.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Yeah. Huh? That's no.
And you got 3 daughters. I got 2 granddaughters that are going to be growing up, possibly playing sports. I certainly don't want some man. And it's like they even brought that girl out last night in the meeting. That she got hit in the head with a volleyball. Gave her a TBI. I mean, she's not right. I mean, she got hit so hard. I mean, it's just by a trans guy on the other side. I'm sorry, I'm not going to call it a she. It's a he. He hit that ball like a man, and it messed her up. And she's a shining example of what should never ever happen. Of course,
Well, and then there was some race, and I don't remember what it was. It might have been like a cross country thing or something, or a marathon. And the male beat the nearest female by 5
hours.
Yep. Yeah, you saw that too from our favorite guy.
But my wife said that she saw some kind of competition, and she couldn't remember what it was, but it's like because a guy showed up. They all just quit. They all just said, "I'm not doing it." So he had to run it by himself, whether it was a run or whatever. But he was all by himself.
Recently,
yeah. So anyway, last Thursday, Ben Domenech, he's actually used to be a Fox News contributor. And maybe he still is, I don't know. But he's over at The Spectator magazine now. He sat down with Trump for a very interesting interview. You can hear the whole thing at Spectator. Just Google Spectator magazine and you'll be able to find it. But do you remember after the election when Biden and Trump were at the White House? I think it was after the election, before the inauguration, Biden invited Trump to the White House and they sat in front of the fire and they were talking and everything.
It wasn't on mainstream media, so
No,
if
it
it wasn't,
wasn't.
I didn't see it. I don't know anything about it. That's just my view. I don't know.
Trump relayed a bit of this private conversation with Uncle Joe to Ben during this interview about who he thought pushed him off the Democratic ticket last year. This is really interesting.
And I asked him, I said, so who do you blame? Because he was very angry. He's a very angry guy, actually. And he said, I blame Barack. And I never think of him as Barack. You always hear Obama. He said, you have to think about that for a second. And he said, and I also blame Nancy Pelosi. I said, what about the vice president? He said, no, I don't blame her, which was interesting. Yeah. He didn't blame her. He blamed, told me he blamed those two people.
That is interesting. I mean, whether she wasn't a part, I think she was a part of it personally. But Biden obviously.
She was power hungry. She was so PO'd that she didn't win. It was another one of those things. Oh, yeah. Wink, wink, nod, nod, nudge, nudge. You're going to win. It's in the bag. Same thing they did to Hillary. Didn't work then either.
Nope. But I think they did. I think they panicked after that debate, and that Biden blew so badly, and they just decided to, outside the Constitution, pick her to put her in there because she never received a vote for anything, whether she ran for president in 2020 or this time. I mean, it's like as far as getting her on the ticket, she never got a vote.
No, she didn't do anything to do it. It was handed to her. It's like, that's not how our process works.
Wasn't she the first one to drop out, or the first or second one?
Yeah,
to
she
drop
only
out?
had like 1% of the vote for the Democrats when she tried to run in 2020, if I remember right.
I think so too.
And then they brought her in for a VP, and I went, her? Really? Okie dokie. Our VP we got now has done more stuff in 6 weeks than she did in 4 years.
And they hate him too. And I personally, I think he's fantastic.
I think he's awesome.
Yeah.
By the way, he's at the border today.
Is he?
He was supposed to be down. Yeah, supposed to be down at the border today. She was at the border. She saw it when her plane took off, and she could wave at Mexico. But she's about as close as she got.
She hasn't been to Europe either, so I don't understand where.
Well, there's that. Hopefully, she gets around where she can make it.
It would be nice
absconded with enough stuff from the anyway.
It would be nice if they let her travel a little bit. I mean,
nobody else in the world wants to see her either.
Apparently not. Nobody's invited her. I think she went to Honduras and tried to solve some kind of problem down there. But anyway, quickly, this is to me, and it's just me, one of the funniest things Trump has ever said in a press conference. I think he's getting more comfortable in his own skin. He's comfortable with them throwing barbs at him because, he sloughs it off like it's nothing. And he has said some real doozies in some of these press conferences, but this is great. Here we go.
Mr. President, do you still think that Zelensky is a dictator?
Did I say that? I can't believe I said that. Next question.
The question was, do you think Zelensky's a dictator? He said, or what do you think? Obviously he said that. He goes, did I say that? I can't believe I said that. Next question.
Oh, he got after the gal that thinks she's just so special from CNN and was asking. He goes, no, I'm not taking any questions from you. That's why you're the fake news. That is not a question. That's not what we're talking about here. Yeah. And that's why you're the fake news. And she kept trying. He goes, your turn is gone. Someone else. He just flat shut her down.
Yeah. He, and that's kind of his go-to. Is like he kind of talks to you like a dad and says, "No, you're not getting the ice cream before dinner." And it's like, I am not letting you backsass me, young lady. And you need to go to the back of the room. I love the way he's handling the press this time. It's so much better than the first time.
Or Zelensky, for that matter. And we may actually bring that up again then.
I think we will. We are actually up against a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about that now infamous famous, infamous, depends on your wherever you're standing.
The brouhaha.
Yes, the brouhaha, the hubbub.
The dust up. The hubbub.
The hubbub. Another
hubbub.
Take a shot. I just said it again. So we'll talk about Zelinsky and all that crap when we come back. So hang in there.
The Stay Off My Lawn podcast will be right back.
When you're strong-willed, you do it your own way. When you're uncompromising, second best never crosses your mind. When you're set in your ways, you stay true to yourself. If you can drink to that, we've got a beer with your name on it. Like the Rocky Mountains themselves, Coors Banquet is an American original, and originals always follow their own road. Since 1873, Coors Beer's been brewed in Golden, Colorado. Coors, the Banquet beer.
Hello, wake up. Welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 3.
Wow, we got into that one with a bang.
Ooh, well, the music ended and I had to get in there. The meeting with Zelinsky, the elephant in the room that everybody's been talking about.
He's not that big. Oh, you mean? Oh, I see what you're saying. It's a metaphor.
It's a metaphor. That's right. The Oval Office meeting with Zelinsky did not turn out the way I think anybody expected. But the copy and pasting, which has gone through some of this, the media, we saw it during COVID. We saw it, and we just saw it again last night with. I just happened to see that clip this morning. I didn't have time to cut it, but I think you saw this too, right? With all the Congress people reading the same script over and over for all their social media. It's just like,
was that Smith that was talking about it? Why are they going in a room that he's the sports announcer? I remember his last name is. He was just
Stephen
ripping
Smith,
them up for that. He had it on his thing. And why would you do that? You all think it's good to go in a room and you all just grab a microphone and read the same teleprompter? You think that's a good idea? I mean, he says, what's wrong with you?
Word for word. I mean, it was Cory Booker. It was Chuck Schumer. It was a bunch of people. I'm thinking, it just comes across as inauthentic. I don't think the people are buying any of it. But
Pocahontas was in there. It was just absolutely just stupid.
But the the MSNBC and CNN actually had some of that going on too with this whole meeting. So
it was a pathetic ambush. I think a mugging, a bait and switch.
Critics have been outraged by what seemed to be an Oval Office ambush.
An Oval Office ambush of an American ally.
What can only be described as a total ambush of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
An ambush? You called it one of the grimmest days of American diplomacy.
This was a calculated political ambush. I don't think this was a accidental interchange that escalated. This was calculated.
It was an ambush. I mean, this was a plan. This was a politically calculated ambush.
Maybe, as some have speculated, that show was some kind of premeditated ambush.
It had the feelings at times, Dana, of an ambush.
Some people are wondering if this was an ambush.
It was, I think, an ambush. And I think it was a premeditated ambush for political points.
Was this an ambush? Was this pre-planned? Did Vance go in there as an agent provocateur and try and provoke Zelinsky?
That was an ambushing of our ally.
What we just witnessed between Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and President Zelensky inside the White House was an ambush. It was a planned ambush designed to embarrass President Zelensky in order to benefit Vladimir Putin.
It was a planned ambush to effectively jettison Ukraine and complete the switching of sides of the U.S. in line with, again, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance's Russia first views.
Russia first.
At least he was enthusiastic about it. The others were just, yes, it was a total ambush. It was all planned, I'm telling you.
The password is ambush.
Yes. For Democrats, the new password is provocateur ambush.
It's just like they got a message from somebody that says, call it an ambush. I mean, and so everybody did. Goodness gracious.
They get the same script. So, Soros' kid is now writing him. Alex is putting him out instead of the old man.
Oh my gosh. Well, anyway, let's start off a little.
Pathetic. dramatic.
A little bit of background and a reality check how Zelensky rules his country. Tulsi Gabbard, who is very, very smart, and she has some insight on the inner workings of the Zelinsky regime. And here's her for that.
Here is something that the political establishment and propaganda media don't want you to know. Ukraine's President Zelensky has just banned yet another political opposition party, one that questioned his legitimacy as president, and used Ukraine's Department of Justice to mandate the seizure of this party's members' assets. Now, this is just the latest of Zelensky's actions to do this sort of thing. He began banning major political opposition parties in 2022, when he also started banning TV channels that were associated with his political opponents. And he took over total control of Ukraine's largest television networks, now controlled by their government. Now, Zelensky's presidential term ended on May 20th. He canceled elections in the name of martial law, suspending Ukraine's constitution so that he could stay in power. Now, defenders of Zelensky will say, hey, Ukraine is in the middle of a war. They can't have elections. Just stop for a moment and think, if we accept that excuse or criteria for suspending the Constitution and canceling elections, then we should presume that leaders in our own country and our own establishment media will also use this same excuse and rationale when they suspend our Constitution and our elections, since we too are at war with Russia and China. If you think this sounds crazy, look at what's already going on. They've already started conditioning us to accept a dictatorship by rationalizing their own use of our Department of Justice to target President Trump and other political enemies in their efforts to stay in power.
So Trump calling him a dictator isn't so far crazy. I mean, doesn't seem like it.
Well, we do know that he is a member of the little small mustache man's party.
Yeah.
So nobody seems to want to bring that up anymore, but that's still what they are.
A lot of Eastern Europe, and I know I've told this story before, is still, there's a lot of neo-Nazi type stuff going on in those countries. Poland, and I would imagine in Russia, but I know Ukraine, it's been reported on in the past.
Oh, yeah. I think that the little Zelensky was reminding me of, so what are we going to do today, Brian?
Pinky in the brain.
What we always do, Pinky. Oh, do laundry because I don't think I've got enough whites to wash.
Take over the world. Yes, exactly.
Anyway, that's kind of... Yeah, he was, did you know that he had a 2-hour meeting with the Democrats prior to going in there? And they talked him out of it. They said, don't accept this deal. So he listened to him and went, okay, because it was all set up. This was just a formality. He was going to sign the agreement stuff, blah, 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 have lunch. They kicked him out of the White House. He was escorted out. He said, no, I still want to talk to Trump. No, it's over.
It's over.
And they escorted him out of the White House.
Yeah, there was
no lunch, no press conference. You're done, pal.
He missed his lunch. I mean, it's really kind of unfair.
You go to your room and you think about what you've done.
Democratic Congressman Chris Murphy from Connecticut actually tweeted about that meeting. Him and 11 other of the donkey party advised Zelensky to reject that mineral rights deal. And that kind of fed into everything that we saw. Now, the meeting, if you've only seen snippets from the media or whatever, we would actually like to play for you this exchange in the Oval Office. It's a bit lengthy, but the context is very important, and that's what we're all about here. So this is kind of how that went.
Yes, quantum. Yes, but after that, he broke this ceasefire. He killed our people, and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, GD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come to the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring him into this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you've seen what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come watch.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems with bringing people in your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You
God
don't.
bless.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly what you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good. We're going to feel very good and very strong. You're right now not in a very good position.
Anyway, it goes on a little bit after that. I figured I'd cut that off a little bit. But first of all, he called J.D. Vance, our vice president, instead of Mr. Vice President, he called him J.D. I think that's kind of disrespectful.
That was disrespectful. But and I was telling you off the air that when I watched it, and I don't remember, it might have been Fox. I don't remember what channel that I happened to catch it on. But they had cameras that were straight on with the three of them sitting there. And then they also had a camera that I saw, it might have been online camera, that was off to the side, and it had them, all three of them off to the side. And when Zelinsky said, "And you will feel it soon," Trump's eyebrows went up, and I went, "Uh-oh, Dad's mad now." And it was like, "You're not dead." No. This was the Democrats talking about us. What were we, bushwhackers? What was it? I forgot the password already.
It was a hubbub.
Well, a hubbub, or that we were attacking.
Ambush.
Thank you. Yeah. It was an ambush. No, Zelinsky ambushed them because everything was set up. This was going to be just sign the papers. Yay, here's the media. We'll have lunch, and then we'll have a news conference after lunch, and everything will be just peachy. And all of a sudden, they're not sending papers. Yeah. What? I mean, he just did it in front of the cameras thinking, oh, they're not going to get after me with all the cameras going. And there was probably 100 cameras in there, was my understanding. And he didn't know Trump. He don't give a crap if there's 100 cameras there or not. This is wrong. And nobody was ambushing anybody other than Zelinsky ambushed them. And it was supposed to be a done deal, had already been agreed to. And then he waltzed in and went, I don't think I'm going to sign. Whoa!
I think Trump actually liked that the media was there. But and there's a clip from Marco Rubio talking about just that. Him and J.D. Vance had a meeting with Zelinsky. Zelinsky said, "Look, I'm going to go back and talk it over with my legislature as far as the mineral rights deal. It was a good deal. Everybody's going to win. We were going to get some of our money back, and they were going to get guarantees for safety, for security." For their country.
Well, and to rebuild the country from all the stuff that's been destroyed. So
exactly. But, because of that meeting with the Democrats and Congressman Chris Murphy from Connecticut, he rethunked the whole thing. And, of course, it just blew up in his face.
There was also some rhinos in there, by the way, as well.
Oh, was there? I didn't know
Two or three rhinos were in there. Well, and I saw the names, and I apologize. I don't remember names. I'm lucky I can remember my own.
I'm just glad you recognize me when I get on the Zoom call. That's all I'm saying.
Do I let this guy in or what?
Who is this? So that's why I don't change my name on my Zoom profile. He's not going to know who
that's
this
okay,
is.
Or no, not Harry. No, what is? Oh, there is a name on there. It's
Tom,
Mike.
Dick, Harry. Yeah, it's something.
Mike Tampon. No, Mike Tenow.
Yeah.
Tarnow, that's it. I got it. Hey, I worked at it long enough. I get it.
That's right. And if you don't remember, I actually had not remembered this, but Biden used to get testy with Zelinsky too. Back in 2022, this is how NBC reported on one of those instances.
Of reporting about a phone call that happened between President Biden and the Ukrainian president back in June. What do we know about that conversation, Courtney?
Yeah, that's right, Kate. So in this conversation, President Biden called President Zelinsky to tell him about a roughly $1 billion package of additional equipment and weapons for the Ukrainian military coming from the United States. During the course of the call, President Zelensky continued, according to a number of officials who we spoke with who are familiar with the call, President Zelensky continued to talk about the additional equipment and weapons and support that he and his military needed. According to these officials, they said that President Biden finally just got frustrated and lost his temper and told President Zelensky, look, you could be a little bit more grateful. The reason that this story is interesting to us and is something that we're reporting on and officials are speaking to us about is because it shows that all these months ago, President Biden already realized that there was going to be a point where the American people, members of Congress, where people would start potentially pushing back on all these billions and billions of dollars of aid and equipment that the U.S. has been providing to Ukraine.
So, I mean, this not being grateful, there's a history to it, apparently.
Well, that, and I did, somebody was talking about the way he was shifting a lot of moving, and they're going, that has all the makings of,
little bit
there was a line that he crossed.
Little booger sugar line, yeah.
Yes. And they're just going, he was...
And one of the speculations too is that him and Hunter were kind of tight, and so he knew where all the bodies were buried with Hunter, and so he would go and tell Biden, it's like, I'll go to your media. You better keep sending me that money and equipment, and so you got to wonder if that's part of that ugly deal. I don't know whether that's truly the case or not, but that would make sense if it was. So
I don't know anything about it. There just was somebody saying all the makings of the actions and what he kept doing and what it started out with. So
it all kind of makes sense. So
anyways.
We do have one more. We're up against a break. When we come back, we're going to hear a little bit from Wesley Hunt, Congressman Wesley Hunt. He was being interviewed by two of the head honchos over at TMZ, and he had a lot to say. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
The Stay Off My Lawn podcast is recorded before a live studio audience.
Born from the tragedy of 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation carries out its mission to do good by providing mortgage-free homes to Gold Star and fallen first responder families with young children, and by building specially adapted smart homes for catastrophically injured veterans and first responders. They are also committed to eradicating veteran homelessness and helping America to never forget September 11th, 2001. And according to Charity Navigator, 95 cents out of every dollar donated goes directly to these programs. $11 a month is all they ask for to help these real-life American heroes. Visit T2T.org to find out more. That's T2T.org. Welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 4. We're already there. Let me see. A little bit of note to myself. Sorry about that. Congressman Wesley Hunt was...
we're so professional here. We just know what we're doing. It's well.
My $1 pen sometimes doesn't work all the time. But he was being interviewed by TMZ recently, and he was asked about this whole Zelinsky meeting. Is the last clip I have about the Zelinsky meeting. So if you've had it with all the Zelinsky talk, this will be it. So here's Wesley on TMZ.
We are now forcing Europe to step up to the plate too. And I will tell you this as well. This is a country, our country, we're running a $2 trillion annual deficit. We are $36 trillion in debt. We cannot afford to cut blank checks to the entire world in perpetuity. We can't do it. And what country in the world taxes their citizens and then turns around and sends the United States billions of dollars when they're running a $2 trillion annual deficit? We can't afford this anymore.
Isn't the better way to avoid World War III, which President Trump keeps throwing around, isn't the better way to avoid that having strong alliances? Because we don't have any now.
No. The best way to avoid World War III is for World War III to not even happen, and so people can stop dying. They don't have the resources to even think about getting to Poland. If you look at that very sliver of what they've controlled in eastern Ukraine, these Russian-speaking provinces, this sliver, the insinuation that a country that has the ninth largest GDP, again, the state of Texas is number 8.
But they're strong enough to take you're acknowledging that they're strong enough to take all of Ukraine, right? You acknowledge that.
Can I ask you something as well too? And I remember during the Obama administration where he allowed Putin to annex Crimea. Where was the outrage then?
Yeah, there was outrage. There was. There absolutely was outrage.
He allowed it to happen. He allowed it to happen, and we did nothing. Where's the outrage?
You know what? And that's
fair.
That's fair criticism.
Yeah, nobody really brings that up. I'm glad he did. Crimea
was one of those Wolf Blitzer? No,
that was.
I haven't listened to him in forever. I don't even know what he sounds like.
It was TMZ. It was the lawyer guy and his sidekick. I can't remember.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But I knew both of their names at one point. I can't tell you anymore. But you know, and he brought up Europe needs to step up, and I saw this the other day because, you know, one of our previous guests, him and I didn't agree on this whole thing with Zelinskyy, and him and I didn't go back and forth, but all his friends kind of like jumped on me when I mentioned something, but which is fine. Like I said, I have no feelings. I don't care. But Keir Starmer just came out and signed a 10-year agreement, 3.1 billion, I think it is, pounds a year to Ukraine for the next 10 years. So the assumption is for 10 years, this war is going to go on another 10 years. Are you kidding me? The last 3, I mean...
They don't have the money to give that to them either.
I don't think so either. And you know, and for us, Congressman Hunters is absolutely right. When we have a $2 trillion deficit as opposed to the debt, if you're not sure the difference with all that, I've had somebody ask me this just this week, the difference between the deficit and the debt. The deficit is a yearly going into debt. You've got a credit card and you overspend $2 million every year. And then the debt is the accumulation of all that in the last 50 years or whatever we've ended up building up this debt. So for us to be having to borrow money to pay our bills and to give to Ukraine and having to pay interest on that money, just stinks to high heaven. There's some corruption going on here somewhere. I'm not going to say I know where it's coming from, but I think it's obvious there's something.
Ones who are complaining and yelling the loudest about stuff.
No doubt.
Those are pretty much where it might be.
Could it be
just saying.
Pocahontas?
Yeah, that's definitely could be one. And the gentleman who wants to, cutting off his extra play money, I guess. I don't know.
I guess.
But,
you know, there's a lot of corruption to go around. So, I mean.
Are we headed to DOGE now?
Yeah, we could do.
Okay, well, as a segue, since we were talking about that, the DOGE news that literally just came out, I just saw it this morning, was a Supreme Court, our lovely Coney Barrett, she stabbed the Republicans again, but it went against Trump in saying that he stopped all the funds that were being sent to all these goofy ass programs somewhere. And the Supreme Court said, no, you have to honor those because we said we would pay those. And that's something that those funds have already been allocated. And so you're going to have to still pay them. You can't stop those. So that's not going over real well.
And that was a Supreme Court decision 5-4. Is that how that
5-4. She was the deciding vote.
Jeez Louise. So when is that going to be able to take hold? I mean, it's going to have to wait until the end of the budget in September?
No, it's right now. That's you got to unfreeze it.
Yeah.
Those payments have to go through now. It's my understanding on what I read.
So all they can do is just cut those line items out of the budget for next year. They can't do
future
this year.
whatever. But you can't freeze the money that was quote unquote already allocated that it shouldn't have been, and it was just going to stuff that was just crooked as a dog's hind leg.
Yeah.
Sorry, the Congress already approved those funds. Well, gee, who was Congress at the time?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, there's GOP members that I think are just as crooked as.
There are some heavy-duty rhinos that need to have their horns cut.
No doubt. One line item that was eliminated last week was a $2.6 million annual payment to, anybody guess? Anybody? Bueller? Anyone? Obama. He was receiving royalties associated with Obamacare for the tune of $2.6 million a year. So far, he's been getting it since 2010. He's received $39 million taxpayer dollars since 2010. So
that's how he's been able to buy a lot of extra houses, among other things that he was getting money from.
Yeah. He's
sure.
He's broke though. The poor guy. Comedian Michael Loftus was on Gutfeld the other night, and this is
that's awesome.
Absolutely tremendous. And he was asked about how the Democrats' response to the whole DOGE operation.
They've experimented with a couple of different ways of pushing back against DOGE. They're like, I don't think Elon Musk and his boys are good at math. I'm worried about the math. Yeah, he catches rockets with chopsticks, so shut up about the math. They're like, oh, he might have your social security number. I don't know. He ran PayPal. Okay. So they really have to do the Casablanca thing where they have to be like, we're shocked that there's government overspending. Oh, my goodness. That way then they get in on it. Like I declare we should start a committee of our own just to check his numbers and make sure maybe my sister-in-law could be on that committee, and that normally pays $2 million a year, but I can't get enough Doge. I want a Doge 24-hour channel. Doge it all. Pinch every penny.
Pinch every penny. I love it.
You go to anybody who wants to know what's the latest thing on DOGE, you go to doge.gov, and it has everything they're doing, all the numbers, the receipts, as they say, are all there every day.
Oh, and that's something you see on social media all the time. Oh, are they ever going to show us the receipts? It's like, it's there. They just
it's there. Go look for it. Get off your dead arse and go look for it.
Oh, man. Our last news story, Mark Cuban, billionaire owner of does he still own the Dallas Mavericks, or is he?
He owns it's a percentage. He's not the total owner. I don't remember how it worked out. I heard what the percentage was. It's a pretty good size percentage. But
he's famous for two things. One is hating Trump, and the other is looking a lot like a bloated Rachel Maddow. But he's
been eating really well lately.
I think so. He's a little bloated. Yeah, he looks like he ate something that made him gassy. So he said he doesn't like Twitter anymore because it's just so mean. It's just so mean. And I gotta find this clip. Oh.
Well, I did hear somebody about Twitter. Yeah, Elon Musk took over Twitter and just ruined it. Oh, you mean so that you couldn't spew your crap and nobody else could have any dissertation or conversation with you about what you spewed? That's ruining it? I think that's called freedom of speech, just so you know.
I mean, it's good to have your viewpoints challenged once in a while. Richard and I do that to each other all the time. And like I said, I had that with our friend Mike in Great Britain. We just didn't see eye to eye. But, none of us hate each other now. It's just we just don't agree. Anyway, here's Mark Cuban giving you some advice.
I don't know if anybody here uses Blue Sky, but thank you. Because I think really that's the opportunity to counterbalance a lot of the strength on Twitter, because Blue Sky is a moderated platform. When I go to Twitter, I get some of the nastiest hate, the nastiest memes. On Blue Sky, I get some hate, right? But at least I can engage in the conversation. And the hate is, billionaires are a policy failure. Okay, I can deal with that. We'll eat you last. Okay, I can deal with that. The on Twitter is nasty, right? And I think most of the voting public would prefer a moderated platform.
Nope, not me. I don't know anybody that would want a moderated platform. That's why.
No. that's what Twitter was, and went in and fired 80% of the employees, and it's running just fine.
Yep,
they don't have to have that many people to moderate and all. You said something that you can't do that.
I keep clutching my pearls when I'm on this platform.
One more time, and you're out.
Yeah. I'd rather hear somebody's honest opinion and not agree than just being an echo chamber.
I'm with you. I have no desire. I'm hearing that a lot from folks in our industry that are going, we got to go to Blue Sky. You got to go there because that's where we can talk.
I saw that too. A lot of people that you and I are friends with on Facebook. I've seen a lot of that.
No, I want nothing to do with that damn.
And God bless you. If that's what you want to do and if that's what floats your boat, you go ahead. I mean, it's a free country. You do what you want to do. But I would rather honesty. And to me, that what's on Twitter now and the way Facebook is starting to get better, Instagram's starting to get a little bit better. I haven't been getting dinged with stuff that, they like to throw out that whole misinformation thing. Things are getting a little bit better, and it's because you're not going to get moderator. You're not going to have people fact check you. The ocean is blue. I don't know. The independent fact checkers have said, it's like, come on now. Jeez. Anyway.
It's more of an aqua turquoise.
Yes.
Oh, give me a break.
Exactly. We need a palate cleanser.
Oh, please, yes.
Here is a Paul Harvey rest of the story, and this one's vaguely about skiing. Honestly, I don't remember exactly what it's about. It's about skiing.
The rest of the story. The three adventurers set out on their journey in the violet darkness before dawn, beneath a huge pale moon, icy white stars, and everywhere was snow. The village of Davos itself was some 5,000 feet in these mountains, fast disappearing behind the travelers. Two brothers named Branger, natives of Davos, and a third, a foreigner named Arthur. He was why they were making this historic attempt to traverse the 12 treacherous miles across the Furka Pass to the village of Arosa on skis. Never done before? No, sir. Never done before. And it might have remained undone to this day, except for the rest of the story. Arthur and Louise had the kind of happiness together that seemed unshakable, invincible. But then Louise became seriously ill, tuberculosis, the virulent type sometimes called galloping consumption. The doctors they consulted rendered the same grim prognosis. Louise's condition would grow steadily worse, and within a few months at most, she would be dead. Well, promptly Arthur, a medical doctor himself, nonetheless indulged what colleagues today call denial. Louise was not going to die, he said. What his wife needed, he decided, was fresh mountain air. So the couple abandoned their new big city home. They packed up their belongings and their two small children. They headed for the mountains. When the family arrived in the snowy village of Davos in December of 1893, Arthur was concerned with one thing only, Louise's health. But as her condition quickly, dramatically, almost miraculously began to improve in the high, dry atmosphere, the good doctor, greatly relieved, began looking around him. And what amazed him was this little community's utter isolation. There was another village only 12 miles away, for instance, the town of Arosa. And yet such was the steep, snow-engulfed terrain between here and there that Arosa might as well have been on another planet. And that is when Arthur, an expert skier, made up his mind to demonstrate for the local villagers how they might better visit their neighbors. Accompanied by the athletic brothers Branger, whom he had instructed in the use of Norwegian skis, Arthur glided out of Davos at 4:30 one morning in late March 1894. 3 hours later, the sun rose over the distant peaks, turning the night to gleaming white. Sometimes they shuffled sideways along the mountain face, where one careless move might send them plummeting 1,000 feet. Other times they soared down the valley slopes with the thin, brittle air singing in their ears. Just past 11 o'clock, the townspeople of Arosa, searching the distance with binoculars, caught sight of the wayfarers skimming over the last precipice high above the fir tree forest. And as their incredible 7-hour expedition drew to a close, the villagers greeted them with cheers and backslaps and well-dones. As for Arthur's death-sentenced wife Louise, the change of environment supplemented with megadoses of love kept her alive and thriving for a dozen years more. But something else wonderful came from their therapeutic trips to the mountains. For the people of that region, once snowbound to their villages, were liberated by a daring sportsman named Arthur, who introduced their country to skis. Do I mean to say that doctor-turned-writer Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of the world's most famous fictional detective Sherlock Holmes, that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle introduced skiing to Switzerland? That is precisely what I mean to say. That is indeed the rest of the story.
Who would have ever thunk?
And they didn't have skis clear until the late 1800s? Really?
That's incredible. I would have thought for hundreds of years they've been doing something like
snowshoes, but I guess nobody ever thought about gliding, instead of walking.
I guess not. That's interesting. Arthur Conan Doyle. Interesting. Anyway, we hope you were somewhat informed and had fun like we did. Don't forget you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Smart Speaker, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And you'll find us every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on the OracleTalkRadioNetwork.com. Enjoy us on your drive home. You can get the apps for both Apple and Android, or you can just go to our good old website, StayOffMyLawn.us, for all our past and present episodes.
And we'll see you next week, folks.
Toodles, and thanks so much for listening, folks. We enjoy having you along for the ride.
And we're professionals. Don't try this at home.
Well, we had fun and hope you did too. The opinions heard here today are not those of anyone other than Mike and Richard. If it made you laugh or go, or even, then we've done our job. Sort of. Mostly anyway. And if we made you think about things in a common sense manner, we welcome you to the club. And if it didn't, then just stay off my lawn. See you next time.